The story starts inside a famous virtual reality game called The New Gate. At first, it is just a game, but everything changes when players realize they cannot log out. Even worse, if someone dies in the game, they die in real life too. The only way to escape is to clear the game by defeating the final boss. After years of struggle, the moment finally arrives. A powerful player named Shin prepares to face the last boss. His NPC companions warn him to be careful, but Shin moves forward without fear. The battle is intense. He manages to cut off the monster's wing, but it quickly grows back. Realizing the boss can regenerate, Shin increases his attack speed and pushes the fight aggressively. Little by little, the boss's health drops. When it tries to heal again, Shin strikes with all his power and delivers the final blow. The system announces that the final boss has been defeated. Shin receives multiple rare titles, and at last, players are allowed to log out. Shin checks the player list and watches as one name after another disappears. Soon, he is the only one left. Believing his job is done, he prepares to log out as well. Suddenly, a mysterious gate opens in front of him. Confused, since the boss was supposed to be the final event, Shin steps forward. When he opens his eyes again, he finds himself lying in a grassy field. Everything feels far too real. He opens his status window and is shocked to see that his stats have increased even more because of the titles he earned. However, when he tries to log out, the option is gone. There is no internet connection either, yet the world still exists. Using a navigation item, Shin tries to return home. Along the way, he notices a city that never existed in the game before. When he reaches his old house, he sees something unexpected, a young girl being dragged away from a protective barrier by some men. Suddenly, a monster appears, frightening the men and forcing them to flee. Shin steps in and defeats the monster, saving the girl. Inside the house, the girl introduces herself as Tiara Lucent. She thanks Shin and believes he is connected to her master. Shin is confused, especially when she mentions Schnee Razor of the Moon Shrine, one of Shin's own support NPCs. Realizing something is strange, Shin claims they are old friends and asks where Schnee is. Tiara refuses to reveal that information but offers to deliver a message, for a fee of 1,000 jewels. Shin shows her a Gale coin, explaining that it is all he has. Tiara is shocked. 1 Gale is worth 10 billion jewels in this world and can only be handled by kings. Even stranger, only rulers are able to use item storage boxes. Shin realizes that the value system of this world has changed drastically. When Tiara asks who he really is, Shin explains that he is a high human. She is stunned and tells him that high humans disappeared 500 years ago during an event known as the Dusk of Prosperity. Shin is confused because, to him, this sounds like the mass logout after clearing the game. That's when he understands the truth. He has been sent 500 years into the future of the New Gate. Thankful for her explanation, Shin gives Tiara the Gale coin as a gift. He believes it will help her, especially since elves are talented in magic. Tiara is surprised that he knows she is an elf, as her master placed an illusion on her. She then reveals the truth. Elves with black hair are considered cursed. Because monsters kept attacking her, she was banished from her village. Schnee changed her appearance and placed her in the shop protected by a barrier, where she has lived for over 100 years. Shin analyzes Tiara and discovers she is suffering from a powerful curse that activates randomly. Knowing how to fix it, he uses purification magic. Only part of her hair returns to its original silver color, but the curse is weakened. Tiara becomes emotional. When they step outside the barrier and no monsters attack her, she breaks down in tears of happiness. Back at the Moon Shrine, Tiara explains that Schnee will take some time to return. Shin decides to explore the nearby city to understand this new world better. To help him, Tiara gives him a letter of recommendation, which allows him to enter the city freely. Though Shin feels it's too much, she insists as thanks for saving her. Shin enters the city of Barry. The guard explains that the letter is extremely valuable. It works across kingdoms and can even grant an audience with the king. Shin is taken to the Adventurers Guild to register. At first, he is told to go to the first floor. When he does, he notices that the receptionist looks exactly like the one downstairs. She explains that they are twins, Celica and Celica. While Shin waits for his adventurer card, Celica returns with food. As Shin eats, he notices that she keeps staring at him, leaving him confused about what caught her attention. Celica explains that before Shin can officially register, his letter of recommendation must be verified. At that moment, Shin suddenly realizes that the guild master has been standing right behind him the whole time. The man steps forward, and they decide to talk privately. The guild master introduces himself as Barlux. He places his own letter of recommendation next to Shin's. As soon as they are placed together, the two letters react and resonate with each other. Seeing this, Barlux confirms that Shin's letter is genuine. Barlux explains that letters of recommendation are extremely valuable. They are the most trusted form of identification in the world and grant access to many important places. Because of this, many criminals try to steal them. If such a letter falls into the wrong hands, it could cause serious trouble. He advises Shin to destroy it if he ever feels he cannot protect it. However, Shin firmly refuses. He says he cannot destroy something that Tiara trusted him with. Hearing this, Barlux smiles and says he's glad to hear it. He believes they will get along well, since both of them are recognized by the Moon Shrine. The next day, Shin returns to collect his adventurer card. Celica notices that he is wearing new clothes. Shin explains that his previous outfit looked too flashy for a low-rank adventurer. Celica hands him the guild card and explains the ranking system. There are 9 ranks, starting from G. Shin accepts a simple herb-gathering quest and leaves. As he goes, Celica watches him quietly, feeling that there is something very different about him compared to other adventurers. Deep in the forest, Shin becomes frustrated. He has been searching for hours and remembers that, in the game, this quest was meant for beginners. Suddenly, an enemy appears on his radar. Shin moves toward it and finds a terrifying monster, a skullface jack, with a shocking level of 359. Nearby, he discovers a broken carriage. Realizing someone was attacked, Shin decides he cannot ignore the situation. He attacks the skullface, but his strikes barely affect it. Worse, his sword begins to crack. With no other choice left, Shin removes his limiter and releases his full power. He charges again and defeats the monster with a single blow. The skullface is destroyed, but its light element sword is sent flying far away. Shin regrets this as he wanted the weapon. Instead, the monster drops a mana gemstone, which he takes as proof of the kill. Meanwhile, the sword crashes into the royal castle, shocking the guards. Unsure what just happened, they panic. The second princess, Ryan, orders an appraiser to examine the sword and find out who could have thrown it, believing the attacker must be incredibly powerful. Later, Shin walks through the city and notices many injured soldiers. A guard explains that a squad of 12 was attacked by a skullface, and only 4 survived. Shin realizes that the broken carriage belonged to them. The guard also mentions the sword that suddenly appeared in the castle, making Shin feel guilty for causing trouble. Back at the guild, Celica notices adventurers gathering to form a party to defeat the skullface. Shin casually says that it won't be necessary because he already killed it. He shows her the gemstone. Celica is shocked and yells that a single person cannot defeat a skullface. She quickly turns red after realizing how close she got to him. Another staff member, Alice, appears. Celica tells her that Shin defeated the skullface jack. Shin admits that he didn't bring the monster's equipment, since it wasn't very impressive. Alice finds this strange, explaining that even rank B gear can be worth a fortune. She asks Celica to analyze the gemstone, as it should still contain the skullface mana. Shin asks how skullfaces are created so often. Alice explains that many people die in the northern forests, and their lingering resentment mixes with mana, creating undead monsters. However, that forest doesn't have enough mana to create something as strong as the skullface Shin fought. When Shin reveals its level was 359, both women are stunned. Celica rushes off to analyze the gemstone. Alice quietly admits that if Shin is telling the truth, he is stronger than an entire rank A party. Shin asks them to keep the matter secret, as he doesn't want unnecessary attention. Later, Shin goes to a restaurant. Since it's crowded, Celica tells him he will have to share a table. A man carrying a legendary spear named Venom sits across from him. He introduces himself as Avis. At first, Avis assumes Shin is a rookie adventurer, but quickly notices that Shin is far stronger than average. Shin explains that it's only his 3rd day and that he comes from the countryside. Avis laughs and says that explains why Shin isn't afraid of him. He adds that people call him a vampire because he hunts undead monsters. Shin awkwardly wonders if it's because Avis looks pale, making the mood tense. Avis laughs and explains that the nickname comes from his spear, which can drain life from enemies. Their food arrives, and the two enjoy their meal together. Later that night, Shin visits the library to research the decline of glory that happened 500 years ago. However, most records from that era are missing or incomplete. Elsewhere, Barlux discusses the skullface incident with others. They wonder who could defeat such a monster and not even bother collecting its armor. Alice remarks that the killer likely didn't find the equipment impressive. Barlux comments that people who carry letters of recommendation are always unusual. They also mention that on the same day the skullface was defeated, a mysterious sword was thrown into the royal castle. Barlux and the others begin to wonder if the strange events are connected. Curious, Barlux asks what kind of sword was thrown into the royal castle. That night, Alice reveals the details. The blade was nearly 2 meters long, forged from magical steel, and enchanted with the light element. Hearing this, Barlux is stunned. A weapon of that level could only be legendary class. Alice agrees, saying that anyone capable of defeating a monster while wielding such a sword cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, Shin relaxes in the city square, eating grilled skewers. He suddenly notices a young girl staring at him. Thinking she might be hungry, he offers her some food. As she eats, Shin realizes she doesn't look like a beggar at all. The girl turns out to be a tiger beastkin and introduces herself as Millie, thanking him politely. Just then, Avis appears and explains that Millie is an orphan from the nearby church. She often runs away, and he usually has to bring her back. As Avis prepares to leave, Millie suddenly steps close to Shin and whispers something in his ear before running off. That night, Shin thinks about what she said. She asked him to save a fox in the northern forest. He decides it would be a good way to pass time while waiting for Schneeraiser to return. However, he suddenly remembers that he never delivered his message. So, he heads to the moon shrine. There, Shin asks Tiara to show Schnee his sword when she returns. He explains that the weapon can only be used by himself, Schnee, or someone they personally approve. When Tiara senses the sword's aura, she becomes nervous. She realizes it's an ancient and extremely powerful weapon. Shin casually mentions the legendary monsters he defeated to forge it, but Tiara becomes even more confused by how lightly he talks about such creatures. Shin asks her to keep the sword safe and then gives her a special message letter item. He explains that by writing a person's name and saying send, the letter will reach them no matter where they are. Tiara wonders why he doesn't send the message directly to Schnee himself. Shin explains that he tried, but it never worked. To test it, he sends a letter to Tiara, and it arrives instantly. Shin realizes the item probably doesn't work because he hasn't met Schnee in this world yet. Tiara, who wants to become a mage, excitedly asks for more letters so she can study the item. Shin agrees and gives her a few more before leaving. Shin then travels to the northern forest to look for the fox. After walking deep into the woods, he discovers a strange shrine. Inside, he finds a small fox suffering from poison and a curse. Shin quickly heals it, but this triggers something dangerous. An army of undead suddenly rises around him. Shin summons his spear and destroys the skeletons one by one. When the last of them falls, the stone statues nearby begin to crack. From within them emerge two demonic wolves, monsters Shin has never seen before. Their levels are terrifying, over 600. The wolves attack together, but Shin dodges calmly and uses shadow binding to restrain them. The demons release a thick mist and break free, attacking blindly. Shin can't see, but the fox shows him something important: the magic circle where it was sealed. The mist does not enter that area. Using this advantage, Shin activates Binding Bow and defeats both demons in a single strike. As the mist clears, the fox happily jumps into Shin's arms. Curious, Shin checks its status and realizes the truth. It is an elemental, one of the strongest monster races in the game. Even more shocking, it's still a baby. Shin asks if it wants to come with him. The fox happily jumps onto his head, clearly understanding him. At the same time, Schneeraiser receives Tiara's letter. She is shocked that Tiara possesses such a rare communication item and even more surprised to learn about her mysterious new master. Shin decides it would be dangerous to reveal the elemental to the guild. To protect it, he proposes forming a pact, a partnership between a tamer and a monster. This hides the monster's true level and species. The fox reacts excitedly, and Shin completes the pact. A glowing symbol appears on both of them. He names her Yuzuha, and she seems very pleased. Soon after, Shin receives a message from Tiara. She managed to contact Schnee and is now waiting for her reply. Relieved, Shin heads back to the guild. He reports the undead army he encountered in the forest and then looks for a new job. One request catches his eye: a mission at the church orphanage. It has no rank, which makes him think it's a special case. Remembering Millie, he decides to accept it. At the church, a woman named Tria greets him. She confirms that he came for the job and leads him inside. In one room, Shin meets Millie again. She becomes excited and hugs him tightly. Tria notices this and thinks it's rare for Millie to trust someone so quickly. Shin asks Millie if the fox he saved is the one she mentioned. She happily nods and thanks him. Shin explains to Yuzuha that he was only able to save her because of Millie, and Yuzuha politely thanks her. Turning back to Tria, Shin asks about the request. Tria explains that it involves finding a successor for a rare skill. Shin realizes that very few people possess skills in this era. He wonders if it might be related to healing or poison, but Tria shakes her head. The skill she is searching for is purification. Tria knows how rare the purification skill is, so she is shocked by Shin's calm reaction. When she realizes that he can actually teach the skill, she is left speechless. Shin agrees to help, but only under two conditions. First, he wants to know the truth about Millie's power. power. Second, he asks Tria to share any information the church has, since he needs to better understand how the world works now. Tria hesitates at first, but Millie quickly speaks up and says Shin is trustworthy. Reassured by Millie's confidence, Tria accepts his terms. She then explains that Millie carries a rare title called Star Composer. Because of it, Millie sometimes receives sudden visions, and those visions never turn out to be wrong. Shin immediately recognizes how dangerous and valuable such an ability is. He warns that many people would try to exploit her if they found out. Tria assures him that only a few trusted people know, and everyone has been told to keep it secret. While they talk, Yuzuha plays happily with the other orphans. Shin feels oddly left out, noticing how all the children gather around her. He wonders if Millie doesn't want to play with Yuzuha, but Millie admits she feels shy around the older kids. Suddenly, Yuzuha jumps onto Shin's head, giving Millie the chance to hold her alone. Shin realizes Millie planned it all just to be close to him. A nun suddenly approaches Shin and asks if he is the one who will save them. Confused, Shin asks what she means. With a sad expression, she explains that the orphanage is about to be shut down. The church currently has no priest, and someone must take over. Shin asks why Tria can't do it herself, and the nun explains that only someone with a specific skill can inherit the position. Shin finally understands why Tria came to him for help. Later, Tria calls Shin over and introduces him to the girl. She nervously introduces herself as Rashia, accidentally biting her tongue mid-sentence. Tria laughs gently, explaining that Rashia is clumsy but hardworking. As they talk, Avis suddenly arrives to see who accepted the request. When he realizes it's Shin, he becomes cautious and asks about his intentions. Before Shin can answer, Millie reassures Avis. Avis immediately understands. Millie must have seen something in her visions and decided Shin could be trusted. Shin explains the condition to obtain the skill. Rashia must defeat 200 undead monsters, each above level 150, while holding a sacred orb. Everyone is stunned by how impossible it sounds. Shin calmly adds that he will weaken the monsters so Rashia can land the final blow, and he already owns the orb. Hearing this, Rashia is overwhelmed but promises to give it her all. Avis decides to accompany them, realizing that Shin is far from an ordinary adventurer. Later, he invites Shin out for a drink. During their conversation, Avis asks directly if Shin is a chosen one, someone born with special knowledge or titles they shouldn't normally have. Shin wonders if that means memories from a past life, but Avis explains it's more about deep knowledge of monsters, items, and systems. Shin decides he probably isn't one. Shin notices how much Avis genuinely cares for the orphanage. Avis brushes it off, saying he just hates hearing kids cry. Shin smiles, seeing right through the excuse. Shin then receives a message from Tiara, saying that Schnee Razor plans to return soon. She also mentions that Schnee asked about Shin far more than expected. Just then, another notification appears. His letter of recommendation. Avis is shocked and reveals that he has one too. Shin is stunned to learn they share that rare connection. The next day, Shin, Avis, and Rashia travel to the Ghost Plains. Undead monsters begin to appear immediately. Shin traps them using barriers, Avis crushes their legs to immobilize them, and Rashia finishes them off using healing magic, which damages undead creatures. They repeat this process again and again. Eventually, they reach a barrier containing stronger undead. Avis uses his adventurer card to enter. Shin continues weakening the monsters while Rashia delivers the final blow each time. Shin explains that once she reaches level 150, she will awaken the purification skill. Elsewhere, Princess Ryan defeats a skullface Jack and is surprised by how much easier it is with her new sword. However, her knight worries about another group fighting nearby. Just then, Schnee Razor appears. The party is on the verge of retreat when she steps in, effortlessly destroying the undead by shattering its core. Everyone stares at her in shock. Schnee calmly heals the injured soldiers. The commander thanks her, admitting they would have been forced to retreat without her help. Schnee replies that the victory was only possible because the enemy had already been weakened. The commander knows Schnee is being modest. He clearly remembers that several strange undead have appeared over the past month, and even now, he can't believe she defeated a monster that an entire squad couldn't handle. To him, this is proof of the power of someone who once fought alongside the high humans. Schnee orders the soldiers to search the area in case more undead appear. She reminds them that they can contact her anytime using the items she gave them. With that, She rushes into the forest, unable to hide her excitement. She can finally meet her master again. Meanwhile, Avis encounters a skullface Jack. This time, he defeats it easily, allowing Rashia to strike the final blow. The moment she does, a golden light surrounds her. She panics, but Shin calmly explains that this is normal when someone learns a new skill. Rashia's mind suddenly fills with knowledge: how to use purification, how it works, and how to control it. Shin congratulates her, and Rashia realizes that with this power, she can now protect the orphanage and save the children. Yuzuha reacts to something unseen. Shin looks up and notices a strange phenomenon in the sky. Avis becomes alert, but Rashia is mesmerized. Avis explains the truth. This is the residual mana of the undead, forming a single massive entity. The mana condenses and crashes down, creating a terrifying monster, a skullface lord, level 804. This creature has the power to wipe out an entire nation. Shin realizes the barrier won't be able to hold it. The skullface lord leaps into the air and smashes the barrier with a single punch, shattering it instantly. Rashia collapses in despair. Avis suggests escaping, but the lord roars, summoning an army of undead around them. Avis prepares to break through, but Shin suddenly changes. Calm and serious, he says he's staying behind. Avis tries to argue, but Shin removes his limiter, releasing his full presence. Understanding immediately, Avis turns to leave. Shin casts a powerful physical enhancement on Avis, clearing a path through the undead so he and Rashia can escape safely. Once they're gone, Shin summons his sword. Yuzuha unleashes flames to hold back the undead, but the skullface lord keeps summoning more. Shin strikes the ground with overwhelming force, creating a massive crater. Elsewhere, Schnee senses the explosion and rushes toward it. Then, a blue marker suddenly cuts through the undead army. She knows immediately blue means ally. She leaps forward and finally reunites with him. There's no time to talk, so Yuzuha raises a barrier. Schnee throws herself into Shin's arms, tears streaming down her face. Shin softly tells her that he's back. Yuzuha's mana begins to run low, so they focus on the skullface lord. Shin and Schnee unleash a combined spell, wiping out the weaker undead. Shin summons another sword and seizes the opening, delivering the final blow to the skullface lord. As it collapses, the monster desperately begs for more power and speaks. Shin is stunned. After retrieving the sacred orb, he suggests they finally talk. Shin explains that after he defeated the final boss and freed everyone from the game, a portal sent him 500 years into the future. Schnee reveals that she and the other support characters never disappeared. Instead, they waited for their masters. However, the world fell into chaos after the incident, so they split up to control the disasters. Eventually, Schnee returned to the Moon Sanctuary. She's overjoyed to see him again, but Shin asks her to stop calling him master. As a legendary figure, doing so would draw too much attention. He asks her to call him by his name instead. When she does, both of them blush. Schnee asks what he plans to do next. Shin explains that he wants to visit the sacred lands to search for clues about returning home. Schnee admits she has been there before but couldn't investigate much. She also feels sad knowing Shin wants to return to his original world. As dawn breaks, they decide to head back to the Moon Sanctuary and hold a celebration for their reunion. Schnee notices Yuzuha and is told she's an elemental. Shin then realizes something shocking. Yuzuha now has 3 tails. Suddenly, she starts speaking. Shin panics, but Yuzuha explains that her ability returned when he defeated the skullface lord. Shin believes it's because the monster was similar to a boss. He quickly asks Yuzuha not to speak in front of others and to merge her 3 tails into one to avoid attention. She obeys and proudly asks if she's a good girl. Schnee finds her adorable and gently pets her. Remembering Avis and Rashia, Shin rushes after them. Avis senses something approaching and prepares to fight, but relaxes when he sees it's Shin. Rashia, however, faints on the spot from fear. Elsewhere, Princess Ryan arrives at the battlefield and wonders who could have caused such destruction. She also recalls the mysterious attack that wiped out the undead earlier. A soldier named Godus interrupts her and presents a blade found in a ravine. Ryan notices the falcon emblem on its hilt. Godus demonstrates its power, explaining that despite being nearly broken, the weapon is still incredibly strong. Even though the blade is badly damaged, it still holds terrifying power. Godus quietly admits that there is only one person capable of forging weapons of this level, the Ebon Blacksmith, the greatest artisan among the High Humans. Princess Ryan is stunned. High Humans are supposed to be extinct. Godus agrees they can't be certain, but whoever made that sword is strong enough to treat a legendary weapon as disposable. Ryan suddenly remembers that the Moon Sanctuary belongs to that very blacksmith. She suggests they visit the place themselves. Meanwhile, Avis finally demands answers from Shin after witnessing his reunion with Schnee. Shin tries to brush it off, but Avis isn't fooled. He points his spear at Shin and tells him to stop pretending. With no choice left, Shin admits the truth. He is a high human, and Schnee recognizes him as her master. Avis explains that high humans are said to possess overwhelming strength and unmatched skill in their specialties. Some people even worship them as gods. Shin casually adds that he is a blacksmith and even offers to upgrade Avis's spear at a discount. Avis instantly snaps at him not to touch his weapon. At that moment, Rashia wakes up and is shocked to see Schnee standing there. The group begins heading back toward the city. At the gate, Shin hesitates, wondering if it's okay to part ways. Avis reminds him that the request was to teach Rashia purification, and Shin has already fulfilled it. Still, Shin hands Avis a message card, asking him to use it if anything goes wrong. Avis tries to refuse, but Shin insists he doesn't want to abandon the first friend he made in this city. Reluctantly, Avis accepts. Avis and Rashia head into the city, while Schnee quietly comments that Shin never brags about his power. He simply protects the weak. She suggests returning to the Moon Sanctuary, clearly happy to walk beside him again. When they arrive, Tiara runs out excitedly to tell Schnee about Shin, only to freeze when she realizes they came together. She asks if Shin is staying for dinner, and Schnee replies that it's obvious. She then casually reveals that Shin is the owner of the Moon Sanctuary. Tiara completely panics. She admits she didn't take him seriously when he said he was a high human. Now she realizes he's her boss and begs for forgiveness. Shin laughs and tells her to relax. He prefers things to stay casual. He also introduces Yuzuha, calling her his new companion. Tiara is shocked all over again. At dinner, Shin is impressed by the food. Tiara has never seen dishes like these before. Shin smiles, happy that the rare ingredients he once gave Schnee were finally used. Tiara notices a strange aura around the food and asks what kind of ingredients they used. Shin looks confused, he can't see anything, and casually lists several high-grade monster meats and rare plants, items so rare that most people wouldn't even dream of cooking them. Tiara is horrified. Schnee explains that the aura is leftover mana and life force, something common in powerful monsters and rare herbs. They enjoy the meal together, and Shin listens as Schnee tells him about the other support characters and how they've built their own lives. He's relieved to hear they're doing well. Partway through dinner, Tiara suddenly interrupts, clearly drunk. Schnee carries her to bed while Shin laughs. Later, Shin heads to his room and notices that nothing has changed. Yuzuha is already asleep on the bed. He lies down, but later wakes up to find Schnee lying beside him. He panics, unsure how it happened. Schnee clings to him in her sleep, crying and calling his name. Shin gently apologizes for leaving her behind all those years ago. The next morning, Shin wakes up to another shock. Yuzuha has taken on a human form and is hugging him tightly. Flustered, Shin quickly creates clothes designed for humanoid elementals. Yuzuha thanks him but struggles to put them on. They go downstairs for breakfast, and Shin can't stop staring. Yuzuha's transformation is complete. After eating, Yuzuha tells her story. 500 years ago, she tried to stop the cataclysm, but was badly injured. The pain lessened when she reached the Moon Sanctuary, but she nearly died, until Shin appeared and saved her at the last moment. Shin explains that he only found her because of Millie, and Yuzuha insists she wants to thank her again someday. Schnee suggests they prepare one of the elven sweets Tiara makes as a gift, since it's one of the sanctuary's best-selling items. Shin points out that a legendary sanctuary focusing on food seems strange. Schnee explains that they couldn't produce weapons anymore, because only Shin can open the arsenal. Hearing this, Shin decides he'll start forging blades again soon. Schnee then changes the subject and says there's someone she wants Shin to meet, Gerard. Shin is shocked. High beast men only live around 150 years, and it's been 500 years since he last saw him. Schnee explains that Gerard has been waiting for Shin all this time. Wanting answers, Shin decides they will visit him the very next day. Tiara volunteers to stay behind and guard the shop, but Schnee disagrees. She explains that Tiara no longer needs to hide inside the barrier. With Shin back, the Moon Sanctuary can now be moved anywhere. Hearing this, Tiara lights up with excitement. Shin agrees and says they should prepare supplies for the journey. Schnee mentions she needs to report the Skullface Lord incident to the kingdom anyway. Shin decides to look for quests heading toward Ferd. Back at the forge, Shin warns Yuzuha not to touch anything. Some items are cursed. He starts crafting weapons, but his first sword ends up far stronger than anything sold in local shops. Realizing the problem, He lowers the quality and restocks the inventory with more reasonable gear. Tiara changes into her adventurer outfit and announces she's ready. When they head into town together, Shin can't help but stare, which embarrasses him. Tiara notices and jokingly tells him he'll carry all the shopping bags as punishment. She then drags him through the bustling marketplace, amazed by how lively everything is. Shin reminds her that she doesn't know where the Adventurer Guild is yet and leads the way. As he holds her hand through the crowd, Tiara blushes. Inside the guild, Celia informs Shin that his rank has increased to E rank. His report about the skullface and undead army was verified, earning him a promotion, but they can't raise ranks too quickly at once. Celia eyes Shin and Tiara suspiciously and asks about their relationship. Shin explains they're just traveling together, but Celia smirks and says holding hands tells a different story. Embarrassed, Shin quickly changes the subject and asks about the Holy Land, a place said to have been destroyed during the dusk of prosperity. Celia explains that only adventurers C rank and above are allowed to access that information. Shin decides to wait until he ranks up. Looking for a quest heading toward Ferd, Shin learns about an escort mission to a transit point called Bayon, departing at noon. After leaving the guild, Tiara happily comments that they still have time together. Shin suggests walking around the city and visiting the church,